In this video, I want to talk a little bit about project planning to a successful dissertation. I am a project manager by trade, and some of those tools came in really handy when I was planning my project timeline for Chapter 1 and also with doing my LDP updates each week for my chair. So I'll talk through some of those. I'm going to try and keep this short, but there's a lot of information in here, so we'll see if we need to break it up into a couple of different videos. There are a number of aspects of project planning that are included in writing a dissertation. You're managing stakeholders by working with your committee. You have a lot of communication, meeting with your chair, posting your updates in LoudCloud and on the LDP. You're managing risks because you've got to be prepared for the unexpected. Might take a couple of rounds to get through AQR when you'd hoped it would take one. It just happens. Scheduling, you got to plan the work that needs to be done, and you want to think about all the different resources that you have and managing those resources. So the tools that you have, accessing the library using SPSS or MaxQDA, templates, etc. And then you also want to manage the quality, scholarly writing, editing your work, making sure that you get through AQR. The one that I'm going to focus on for this particular video, though, is all about the scheduling. How do you break down your timeline to understand what needs to be done and plan it out so that you can meet all of your key milestones? Tom Landry said that setting a goal is not the main thing. It's deciding how you're going to go about achieving that goal and then sticking to that plan as much as possible. So that's what we're going to talk about, is deciding how you're going to go about achieving your dissertation. So the first thing that you need to understand is what it's going to take to meet your goal. For me, when I first started the dissertation process, this whole thing just felt really fuzzy. So there's 4 steps within the dissertation process: your prospectus, your proposal, data collection and preparation, and then your dissertation, where you finish up chapters 4 and 5. Okay, once you get your level 1 approval with your prospectus, then you'll start writing your proposal. Chapters 1, 2, and 3, depending on your chair, the order of how you complete those might differ. Some chairs have you start with chapter 3, some have you start with chapter 2. Then you will go to your level 2 AQR review. That's what the L2 star is. Level 3 is that proposal defense, and then level 4 is IRB. Once you have IRB approval, you go through data collection, and then you prepare your data. You write chapters 4 and 5 in your dissertation phase. Then you go to AQR level 5. Once you have passed AQR 5, you defend your dissertation, which is level 6. You go to form and formatting, Dean's Read, and then publication. Okay, so that's what it will take to meet your goal of a done dissertation. Now you need to think about how you're going to break down the work to be done, because that's an awful lot of work. You don't want to think about the whole thing. You need to think about each step at a time. And what you want to do is break all of that down. So, for example, when you're writing the proposal, think about all of the different things that you need to get done. On the left is for a quantitative dissertation, on the right is for qualitative. But break down the sections. So when you're writing chapter 3 for a quantitative study, there's 14 sections. Think about how much time it's going to take you to write each of those sections. The introduction might be fairly easy. Data collection and management might be fairly easy. Data analysis procedures might take a little bit more time. Population and sample selection, that might take a little bit more time. So could you get 3 sections done a day? Could you get 7 sections done in a week? Think about how you want to break that down. Okay. Writing chapter 1 is 5 sections. A lot of the information will be repeated in chapters 2 and 3, so you can pull that information into chapter 1. Chapter 2 is deceptive because you've got 6 sections there, but one of those is the review of literature. So break that literature review section down even more by your themes. How long will it take you to get one of your themes done? If you think about each of your themes as a small paper, 5 to 6 page paper. Okay. Then you've got to think about the timing for chapter reviews, chapter revisions, any ongoing research that you have to do. If you're qualitative, before you're done with your proposal, you've got to conduct your field test. So think about those things, and then you also have to build out your appendices. So understanding what it's going to take to write your proposal and how long each of those steps is going to take you will help you figure out how you're going to hit all of your milestones, how you're going to get chapter 3 done by the end of this course, and thinking about it that way. Here's another way, another thing to look at with data collection and preparation. So this is something that you're going to be doing between IRB and writing chapter 4. You're going to test your survey, review your data, run your statistics, do your assumptions testing. For qualitative, you're going to do all your questionnaires. You're going to have to do scheduling of your interviews and your focus groups, which could take time. You've got to go through all your transcriptions, make sure those are transcribed correctly. You've got to do all your trustworthiness activities. You've got to do your coding, and then summary tables and your analysis. Okay, so understanding the work to be done will help you understand how you can lay out your timeline for completion. All right, then you need to determine the effort that it's going to take to get the work done. Okay, start with ballpark estimates. We already know that each round of reviews is 10 business days, right? So automatically assume that you will go through at least 2 rounds of review once you turn in a chapter. Okay, so estimate for 10 days for the first review, maybe a week for you to make updates and revisions, and then another 10 days for a second review. Okay, so that's about 5 weeks after you turn in your chapter 3 before you may get an approval. Okay, so you know that there's some ballparks. The other thing that you can think about is how long did it take you to write a 6-page paper? You can use that to estimate how much time it will take you to get through your literature review. If you have 5 themes and you're going to write about 6 pages for each one, and it takes you a week to write a 6-page paper, then it might take you 5 weeks to write your literature review. It might take you less time, but that's a ballpark that you can work with. Okay? Use historical information. That's the example that I just showed you. How long did it take you to write a 6-page paper? How can you apply that when you're thinking about how much time it's going to take to get your work done? Avoid underestimating. Don't underestimate how much time it's going to take you. Think about the unexpected things that will happen in life. Your kid might come home sick from school, and you might not have an evening where you can do schoolwork. So use your ballpark estimates. Give yourselves a couple of extra days, but don't underestimate, because it's so frustrating when you underestimate how much time it's going to take you, and then you have to extend your timeline. It's much more encouraging and momentum building when you overestimate and you realize that you got done 5 days earlier than you had thought you would. Okay. Consider your dependencies. What do you have to have done before you can do something else? You have to have site authorizations before you can write chapter 3. So you'll want to make sure that you're thinking about all of those different things that you have to have before you can do something else. Okay. And then consider both the amount of effort and the task duration when planning timelines. Okay, so it might take you 40 hours, but you're not going to sit down and have 40 hours in 1 week necessarily to do that work. It might take you 2 days, but it might be 8 hours of work and you don't have that much time during those 2 days. So think about how many hours it might take, how much availability you have each day to do that. If you're getting reviews back on a Friday and you've got your whole weekend, then sure, 8 hours over a weekend could be done. But if you're getting feedback on a Monday and you have a really busy week at work, you may not have as much time during the week, so you've got to give yourself until the following Monday to get all of your work done. So think about how much time it's going to take and then how much availability that you have. You want to make sure when you lay out your timelines that you're really specific with your goals, okay? Be specific. What are you going to accomplish? What actions are you going to take? Make sure that your goals are measurable. What are you going to do to measure that goal? How many articles are you going to read? How much time are you going to put in? How many sections are you going to write this week? So think about those, especially with your LDP updates or your ISPs. Make sure that your goals are achievable. Is this really doable? Do you have the time? Do you have some things coming up over the next 2 weeks? Are you going on family vacation? Are you going to be able to spend that much time writing with things that are going on at work or being out of town? Is it relevant? Are you working on something that's relevant to getting chapter 3 done? Or is it something that is, for later activities? And then make sure when you set your goals that you're binding them with time. I am going to have X done by our next meeting, or by the 5th week of this course, I want to be at this point in the dissertation. Okay, so make sure that you're tying all of your goals with time. Okay, here's some examples. So I'm going to read dissertation related articles. Okay, it's somewhat specific, but there's no time. It's not specific as far as numbers. I'm going to finish chapter 3. Well, everyone wants to finish chapter 3. How are you going to do that? I'm going to write literature reviews. I'm going to get my site permissions. Here's a better way to write these examples. Instead of reading dissertation related articles, I'm going to read and annotate 3 articles each week. It's specific, it's time bound, it's feasible, it might change depending on what's going on each week. I'm going to finish chapter 3. Now I'm going to finish at least half of chapter 3 by the end of week 4 of this course. Okay? Writing the literature review. I'm going to complete a first draft of theme 1 and theme 2 by the end of the class. Get site permissions. I'm going to email for permission by this date with the goal of having approvals in hand by the end of week 6. Okay, so get specific, put some time frames around it, give yourself some things to shoot for. And then adjust your plan, because things are never going to go according to the plan, but it's the fact that you are planning and taking the time to think about it so that you can adjust as you need. But we all know that no plan ever goes according to plan, but if you're thinking about it and making adjustments as you go, you will hit your goals. My timeline, here's an example just for you to reference. One of the things to remember is you want to plan for at least 1, but definitely 2 rounds of reviews for each deliverable. Just give yourself that extra time. My timeline had 2 rounds of reviews built in. Sometimes we needed it, sometimes we didn't. Work ahead when you can while you're waiting. This is really great for defense decks or for your IRB application, creating your survey, doing prep work for chapter 4 while you collect your data. And then know that you're going to need to change your plans. My prospectus, you'll see up here at the front, was committee approved, and then I was asked to present to Dr. Mall, who made suggestions for things that needed to be changed, and so I had to rework my prospectus, so that added on 4 weeks. So what I thought was approved didn't actually get approved until the end of October. Okay? Same thing with AQR. I did not pass AQR level 2 the first time that I submitted it, and when I got the feedback, I spun a little bit and struggled with some of his feedback until I finally figured it out. So I was 10 weeks in AQR level 2. Okay, but my entire dissertation process from beginning of my prospectus class until I defended was 13 months. Okay, so it can be done. You just got to plan your time, be prepared for reviews, and then be prepared to adjust your plan. Okay. In the words of Peter Drucker, plans are worthless, but planning itself is invaluable. So take the time to plan and you will be successful. Good luck, and I'll see you in another video.